Morning guys, it's Mark here from Newbie Prepping. So, I'm doing this video after you've seen the camping one. So, as you can see in the background there, we've got the fire going. So we're just making some brews. But this one, I want to talk about the effects of being out on your bug out constantly. Now, quite a lot of people, when you go camping or you go out, you always feel, oh, it's so nice being at home to get back. Well, that feeling you're not going to have if it's a proper bug out, and you're out for reasons, for whatever. Now, with the continuous bug out, there are side effects which I thought I'd go into and talk about so you can prepare for them, because this is what this channel's all about. Now, always bring some talcum powder with me. Only a small one. It's like a little travel one what you can buy in Boots, and it's just so you can keep your feet dry, because one of the things what you don't want is trench foot, and potentially especially like you damage your shoes, or you're out in proper shoes, is your feet being constantly wet. Now, trench foot is really serious. It will hamper you when you're trying to work, move around. So you do need to try and keep your feet dry. And once you've got a fire going, and if your socks are wet, hang them up, near the fire, dry them out. If you're not going to be moving around at night, try and get your clothes as dry as possible, because going around constantly in wet stuff, it's like a morale, demoralises you. Your morale goes down, which affects the community. So that's like your feet, trying to keep them dry, and your clothes dry, keeping your clothes repaired. If you get a tear, so have in your kit, which you've probably seen, a small little sewing kit. Just had to move, a bit of smoke was getting in my eyes there. And there's also other effects, and the biggest one what people might not think about is obviously the lack of sleep. Now, even though I'm starting this one in the forest on the camp, I will be continuing this once I get back home, to show you, to go through some websites to show you the effects of prolonged lack of sleep. Because if you haven't got the right equipment, you're going to be cold. What's going to keep you up, and you end up doing some crazy things when you're tired. Your judgment is impaired, and I'm going to have all the evidence to show you when I get back home. But I thought I'd start this one off here just to give you a different flair to the video. So I'll carry on this when I'm back at home. I'll see you when I'm at home. Well, thank you, Mark. As you can see, I'm back here. So as I already said, some of the conditions what you'd be living in when you actually bugged out might not be the world's best. It's not going to be 5-star. So there's things that you need to look out for, and these are the things what will hinder you in the long run, either medically or physically. So these are quite important, and I did do a search on the internet, and there's not many people covering the effects of being out. Now, I know some people will say it's quite obvious, but unless it's out there, you might overlook it. So, as I already covered, trench foot, and there is a link below. It's either going to be a PDF or just a link. I'm hoping it will be a PDF, because then it can be a PDF sheet what's got the whole lot in one go. So you just have a look at it, open it up, have a look, and then you can see all the links in the categories. Now, some of you probably won't know what trench foot really is. I did try and explain it a little bit there. Now, if your feet are constantly wet and you moving around, you'll start to get sores, blisters, and your skin will start cracking. Now, it will be very uncomfortable for you to move around to a point where your feet will start bleeding. In time, the worst case would be gangrene. Your toes, feet might need to be amputated, cut off. These are the worst case. But if you're out in a bug out situation, you've got to plan for the worst case, because you probably won't have a doctor. So having gangrene set into your feet, it's going to cripple you for one, and it will slowly spread. It's not something what's going to just say, oh, I'm going to stop at your ankles. No, it will spread. It will spread up your leg. So it is a potential killer if it's not treated and looked after right at the beginning. So there are links, as I said, to explain about trench foot and the treatments, what you can do. So drying your feet, keeping them warm, talcum powder, as I said. So that's some of the things what you can look at trying to keep your feet fit and healthy. So the other one being out, now it'll be okay during, I say it'd be okay, this shouldn't happen during the summer, but it could do, would be hypothermia. Now, you've probably heard of hypothermia, and there are hundreds of people who die of hypothermia in a normal society. So if they die of hypothermia in a normal society, when everything's gone like tits up, there's going to be a lot more people, and a lot of people would actually die of hypothermia in the scenario like when shit hits the fan. Then other things, apart from if we take out murder and stuff like that, hypothermia would be one of the biggest killers. Because you won't be prepared. The people won't be prepared. They'll be in buildings and they won't know how to start fires. And or if they do, they will either burn themselves and catch the whole place alight. But hypothermia would be a big killer. Because it gets to the stage where your brain starts to get cold and you don't make sound judgments. Now, there's been tales of mountain climbers and people who go on the Arctic or Antarctic expeditions who hypothermia starts setting in, and they end up taking their clothes off because they're saying they're hot. That's the extreme of hypothermia. And then they would wander off, and half of them, the majority of them, never seen alive again. So hypothermia is one of would be a big killer in these situations. So going on from like trench foot, what I was saying, there is like ringworm, which is it's a fungal infection. Now it is different from trench foot, and you can catch ringworm a number of different ways. It can be it's mainly from touch, so skin to skin. So if someone's got a ringworm and you happen to touch it and you touch your arm, then you could potentially transfer that onto you. It's also transferred through animals. They're laying up against an animal. If they had ringworm, they can pass that on to you. Also through the soil and sand. So if you're walking around barefoot and then touch your feet, it could spread. Now, ringworm should be one of those ones that's constantly inevitable because it would itch and it would lead into other things. It's not a I don't think of anyone who's died of ringworm, because it's not a worm as such. It's just a fungal. But I don't know. I haven't seen cases of people dying of it. It's just like a fungal infection. What is it, irritable and stuff like that? Now, you got infections, and there's different types of infections, and you could get an infection from a simple cut, infection from different things, infection from like a virus in the air, what leads into an infection. So tetanus would be one. Now, even though we had tetanus jabs when we were at school, and when you're an adult, you're supposed to have a tetanus jab every 10 years, I believe it is. And it's just to protect you from the little cuts and scrapes what you normally get. If you cut yourself on some metal, or even, I suppose, a thorn bush, and you prick yourself, you know, that could lead into an infection. What leads to you getting like like blood poisoning of a form, which if it's treated, it's fine, but then you need your antibiotics. Now, normally you have symptoms between, you start getting symptoms from 3 to 21 days. Obviously, the longer it's left, the worse the infections would be. It could just be, as you can see in one of the links below, a guy was felt as he was doing something, he jabbed himself with a sharp object. Now, as far as I can remember, it doesn't really say what the sharp object was, but his finger all swelled up and become very pussy. And the doctor, when he was explaining it, said that the redness was up his arm, and he started feeling like pains under his arm. That was spread, and something like that would hinder you from doing the stuff that you need to do. So it's not just a case of things being potentially life-threatening, like trench foot. It would hinder you getting around. Now, you'd be able to heal yourself after a couple of weeks of trench foot. Like if you've got a swollen finger, you could treat it yourself by getting rid of all the like the pus, the poison inside your finger or arm, hand, as you can see by some of these images. And you technically would need antibiotics because to stop the infection. Now, if you caught it at the early stages, now obviously this is not recommended, but I will tell you a story of when I was in, I suppose, early teens. I was living with my parents, as you do, and it's very early teens. I think it was just after watching Rambo. So yeah, I was going a bit cuckoo on this. So, but I was putting one of the Christmas decorations on. It was like a little glass bead. I pushed it too much, or put too much pressure on it, and it broke. And in my thumb, I cut my thumb. I just put a bandage on it, not bandage, put a plaster on it. Didn't think much more about it. By the end of the week, it was still sore, and like my thumb had like a little bump on it, and it looked like a spot. And obviously, watching videos, and there weren't YouTube really at the time, but watching videos, it was like, right, okay, I need to clean this. I didn't think about going to the doctors because I was dumb and stupid. So I treated it myself and like burst it and tried to get I could feel something inside, and got some tweezers it hurt like anything. Now I was only a kid, and there was a tiny little bit of glass in my thumb, and so once I got it out, it didn't. Obviously, the pain was still there. The pain was still there from where I was cut open and pulled away the skin, but now the bit of glass was out. It was not hurting as much. A week later, again, it started like coming up with a bit of pus. Skin had grown over. So I ended up recutting it open and got some salt and stuck my thumb in my hand where the salt was, and a tear come to my eye. And I would not recommend it, but in a survival situation, perhaps that's something what if there's no doctors around, salt will kill off something like germs and stuff. Then I got a hot needle and just run the hot needle over my thumb, which made both my eyes water and made me leap up and shout loads of obscene obscenities and curses and stuff. But that was when I was a kid, and yes, nowadays I would do something similar if I was in a survival situation, but generally it would be go down and get some medication because I can. But if you can't, obviously things we do. So yeah, it's one of those things. It's part of what I've done in my past. But getting back to other things, what would occur when you bugged out for a long time. Now, diarrhea would be, you could potentially die of diarrhea if it carried on and on and on, because what you're doing is you're getting rid of everything that's inside you, plus you're getting rid of all water, so you're going to dehydrate. So even though it's not really known, you could die of diarrhea, and you get diarrhea from infected meat, what upsets your stomach, unclean water. As we always say, make sure the water's clean. Even if you've got where you're going to the toilet, if it's too close to the camp, it could infect your water supply. If you're not careful, it could people could move it around if they don't know where they're meant to do your number twos and stuff. So diarrhea is another one. Now you could get diarrhea tablets and have that in your like first aid kit, which would help. But obviously you would need to drink, keep hydrated all the time. So we've gone on and uncovered quite a lot of infections, diseases and stuff like that, which can be naturally caught from being out too long. Now, there are also other ones which we go into now, is starvation. Now, if you've not really planned correctly, or if you've been caught out on a hop and you're out longer than what you suspected. So if you've gone out and you've got a 72-hour bag and 72 hours is up and your food starts running out, what are you going to do? Now, we try to say about setting snares, scavenging for food. There are channels what shows you what food you can get from the woods, berries, certain plants, mushrooms. Be careful, but starvation will slowly kick in. Obviously, your first signs is you being hungry. Is the first sign. So if it's left too long, if it goes on, your brain says, right, burn into fat. Now, as you know, I've got quite a lot, so I should last a bit longer. But then it starts going into other things like muscle. So you start losing your muscle, and that's when it starts becoming a problem, because you're weak from not eating properly. You become more tired, and you become less motivated to do things. And this is like a serious thing. If you're in a small group and everyone's relying on everyone, like each other, to do bits and pieces, you become the weak link, and the stuff what you were meant to do, other people are burning more energy now to carry on. And they say that you would need, as an average male, between 2,000 to 3,000 calories per day. Now obviously if you're cutting wood, doing long hikes, bringing back stuff, you're going to need more calories. So you've got to try and budget your food and work out the calorie intake from what you're eating and make it quite balanced. And for a female, it's between 1,200 and 2,400 calories. Now again, that's just on a general day where yes, you're going to get up, you're going to be doing some activity, but as you can see, if you're doing like hard work, and believe me, cutting down trees, gathering, I suppose not gathering logs is hard work, but chopping up your timber or making a camp or doing strenuous things, you would burn off a lot more calories. So do bear that in mind and try and roughly know what your calorie intake should be. Now, there is a link below to another prepper who really goes into a lot more detail about starvation. City Prepper, another really good prepping channel. The link will be down below, and he explains about the stages of starvation. So do pop over to that channel to learn a bit more about the stages of starvations and stuff. And then you've got mouth ulcers and tooth decay. Now these wouldn't really, mouth ulcers could set in within the first couple of weeks. Tooth decay will take a bit longer, but if you get a mouth ulcer, it's going to be uncomfortable, and if you've not got the right medication, it will take even longer. And tooth decay, if you get your tooth could be infected, going back to make sure to see if you can get like antibiotics and stuff. And in some cases, you might need to remove a tooth. Now, there was Tom Hanks was in a good movie where he was survived on an island, and he had to pull a tooth out. Now he already had a bad tooth before he got on the island, so he already knew he had that problem. But if you look at what, if you just watch the film again, and you will see some of the things what he went through on that island. So having too much, obviously it doesn't really apply to us living in like the UK and that, but eating too much coconut, it gave him diarrhea, you know. So yes, he had loads of food, but it also upset his stomach. So it was a balance. And if you notice, he was a lot leaner when he actually finally got off the island. So it does bear thought of what to take into consideration of what goes on if, and you know, where we can make sure, you know, you go to the dentist and get them checked up, because at least that's, you know, for at least a year. So if anything ever happened, you know you should be roughly all right. The last one, what I'm really going to really cover now, is morale. Now, even though it's not as debilitating as some of the other things what we covered, but morale is a really big factor when you're out. If your morale goes, then your heart, you know, you're just giving up really, which is a bad thing. you know, you can be stressed out for what's going on, your lack of sleep. Sleep deprivation is another one what could cause you to hallucinate, get headaches, which again just snowballs. But keeping up your morale for you and the rest of your people in your party is good. You know, so things will be bad, but try and look on the bright side of things. And that's why when we're out, and as you know, I will take the mickey of whoever I'm out with, you know, and I would expect them to take the mickey out of me, because that builds morale, and it's not done vindictively. And you know, if someone got offended, if in a bug out situation and someone got offended, it's like tough. You know, we've got bigger problems than you being offended. So it's meant harmlessly, just for a morale boost. And yes, we have done some silly things, and we have a laugh about it. And it's nothing's ever dangerous. So take a pack of cards, and as you know, we've got the wireless radio, the solar charge radios. You probably won't pick up musical channels and add music all the time, like we've used it before in the last camp. But hearing someone else's voice, just generally talking, if you can pick something up, would be a morale boost, because you know someone else is out there. You know, having a ham radio, you know, and keeping in contact with people from wherever, again, is a morale boost. So these are ways of trying to keep morale. A pack of cards, you know, it doesn't take up much time, much space in your backpack. But having a pack of cards, having a game, you know, under the moonlight beside the fire, as long as you don't burn them. But again, it passes the time away in the evenings when you can't really go out foraging, you know, and you're relaxing and winding down, and you're talking. If you've got someone going off and trying to exclude yourself, it could be a sign of that his morale's dropping and he could be slipping into depression, you know, and that's what you don't want, because people who have low morale and go into depression leads to other things, you know. You could start having like suicidal thoughts, because what's the point of living anymore, you know. So try and keep up morale in your camp. If you're on your own, I'm not sure. There's always ways of keeping up morale, even writing lyrics, or you know, going through your phone if you can. If you've still got your phone, listening to music, trying to find someone else to be with, and yeah. So that's it, really. There are many more things, but these are, like, I think, are some of the key ones to, you know, take a note of and try and plan towards, because some of them are life-threatening and some are will be very uncomfortable. And if you know the pitfalls, you can plan for it, and you know, and sort of survive, and then eventually thrive. You know, when you get to like group together with other people like-minded and build a bigger community, if everything goes pear-shaped. Congratulations to the winner of the t-shirt. I hope you enjoy it, because you should have had it by now. If not, just get in contact with us and we'll sort something out. I do want to say one thing. I want a big thumbs up from all of you, because these videos, what you're seeing, and Rich does these. You know, he spends a long time at home editing and splicing and doing all that magic on the computer, and puts these videos together. So I just want to say thank you, Rich, for doing that. You know,
the videos are great, and so give Rich a thumbs up please on his video. And he's not going to say effort, he's hard work in what he does, you know, and it is appreciated from me and Matt, you know, of what he brings to this team, you know. And it's not just him sitting at home doing the computer stuff. He is a great guy, and I know he's the butt of the joke quite often, but then my memory's getting, so he's just not quick enough to catch me out when I make mistakes. But I'm sure it will come to the day when he will be using me as butt of the jokes. So thank you, Rich, for doing the videos, and if you do like the concept what we do, subscribe. We do have a Discord channel where we've got like-minded people on there, and leave a comment if you want to see certain things. In the camping video I went over the sleeping bag I had. Excellent. Yeah. I had loads of space in there. It was amazing. I had a really good night's sleep. As a bigger chap, I always find those tapered ones in and really snug and really awkward to move around in. But I've already gone over that, so enough said about the sleeping bag. But I'm impressed with the sleeping bag.
But yeah, hope you enjoyed it. Give us a thumbs up, and thumbs up for Rich's hard work, and subscribe, hit that bell button. I believe it will be just down to one side here, and I'll speak to you soon when we do the next camp, and hopefully it won't be too long, even though we've just gone into another lockdown. But be safe out there, keep training, and do your research. Right, bye.